President. What this amendment does is, first, just to give a little bit of background, right now, many of you may have noticed over the last few years that your mortgages have been sold. You know, you get a letter in the mail saying that your mortgage has been sold, and it tells you who your servicer is. Well, I was door knocking last summer, and I knocked on a person's door who was quite upset about his personal situation because he was going to be facing foreclosure, and he had been trying to figure out who actually owned his mortgage so that he could discuss and negotiate his terms. And when he called his servicer, he learned that his servicer did not own his mortgage, but in fact it had been sold. And to make a long story short, he took months and months and months and really never did find out who his servicer was. Because of that, I started doing my own investigation. My own mortgage had been sold. I called my service provider and asked them who owned my note, and they said that they didn't have the information. This is not acceptable for consumers not to know who actually owns their mortgage note. So last summer I began working with the banking community, working with all those involved in this to see if there wasn't language that could be put together and agreed to that would be very simply just allow consumers to get the information of who owns their note, and that's all this amendment does. Now, you may have known that in the Dodd-Frank reform that this was provided as part of that reform, but that reform isn't enacted yet, and it doesn't include MERS in that. So this is a little bit broader than that, but does refer to that reform, Consumer Protection Act. So that's what this amendment does. It's not controversial, and I would urge your support. It did pass the Commerce Committee without opposition.